The eagles are a dangerous machine. I have used them sparingly, and that is the absolute limit of their credibility or usefulness. Megovanen and well met, my friends. Yoist here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are on Middle-earth. Today, I wanted to make a specific video detailing my thoughts on the supposed plot hole concerning why the eagles didn't just fly Frodo, the ring, and/or the entire Fellowship to Mount Doom, or somewhere else closer to their destination. Well, the answer is actually quite simple. We wouldn't have a good story. Thank you all so much for watching. No, I'll do better than that. Throughout the video, I'll explain the different parts of this plot hole and my arguments against them before looking at some of your responses that I asked for last week. Lastly, these explanations are my opinions based on facts from the Legendarium, but there are other arguments for and against this plot hole elsewhere. Let's get right into it. According to the Tolkien Gateway article about the eagles, which I'll link below, the criticism about why the eagles didn't just fly the ring to or closer to Mordor wasn't actually prevalent at the time of the making of these books, so we never actually got a clear and definitive explanation from Tolkien in any of his writings concerning this issue. However, he was very self-aware and conservative when he used the eagles, as he knew that they could change the plot elements and possibilities of his stories. He also recommended that any film adaptation of The Lord of the Rings should use the eagles sparingly as well. Now let's look at the big question. Why didn't the eagles just fly the ring, or Frodo, or the entire Fellowship to Mount Doom? I would say there are a few answers for this. One is obviously that Sauron had many orcs in Mordor, with a good amount of them being archers. All it would take is one arrow, and the ring would fall to Sauron. Another reason is that Nazgul and their fell beasts exist. However, the exact amount of fell beasts that the Nazgul ride are unknown. It's possible that Sauron had an army of them in waiting that he had bred or found. They could have easily outmaneuvered and taken down the eagles. Thus, it's possible that all the might of the eagles could have been stopped by the sheer amount of fell beasts that there were. At the least, the fell beasts would have delayed them. The eagles likely would not have been able to escape the sight or knowledge of Sauron as well, as the Dark Lord had and used the Ithil Palantir within his Dark Tower of Barad-dûr, and likely he or the Nazgul or any one of his servants would have seen and reported the coming of the Great Eagles. The Fellowship likely would not have been able to escape the grasp of Sauron one way or another. The stealth of the mission would have been gone, and likely all would have been lost. The strength of the Fellowship of the Ring was, from the beginning, in secrecy, and it was always meant to be. Otherwise, they would have used armies and tried to walk into Mordor, but, as we all know, one does not simply walk into Mordor. That saying applies both to the books and the movies in my opinion, although it wasn't specifically stated in the books. I personally like to compare the eagle issue with trying to pull off a heist by landing on top of the targeted building with an attack helicopter, while also trying to remain hidden and stealthy. It won't be secret, everyone will see you coming, and it's not going to go well for you. However, people also ask, why not just have the eagles fly the Fellowship at least part of the way to Mordor? This is a stronger question in my opinion, but I still feel like there are some answers. After the fall of Gandalf to Durin's Bane in Moria, it is evident that the Fellowship did not know Gandalf's exact plan after reaching Lothlorien. As Aragorn states, quote, "Beyond Lothlorien, I do not know what Gandalf intended to do. Indeed, I do not think that even he had any clear purpose." End quote. With this in mind, it is possible that Gandalf could have had the idea to use the help of the eagles after Moria, as the homes of the eagles seem to be along the eastern peaks of the Misty Mountains. Though one may ask why he didn't just use them from the start of the journey. However, it is possible that he never actually planned to use them at all. I think bringing the Fellowship part of the way to Mordor is a much stronger argument to make than bringing them all the way to Mount Doom, as the eagles would not have been in as much danger. Now, however, we come to one of my final and most comprehensive answers concerning the plot hole about the eagles overall. It seems that the eagles, overall as a kindred, were more like messengers and wardens of peaceful lands and peoples, rather than warriors or spies. Gwai here tells Gandalf after saving him from Orthanc that, in that specific instance, he was, quote, "sent to bear tidings, not burdens." End quote. I feel like this statement may be applied to the eagles in general. Sure, during or after times of crises, the eagles may come to save the day, as we see in Fingolfin's fight with Morgoth, or with Beren and Luthien in Angband, or in the East Misty Mountains in The Hobbit, or even on Mount Doom after the destruction of the One Ring, among other examples. However, the Eagles are never the chief characters in any certain event. They only defend and save good characters while fighting evil ones. Even in their fight with Encelagon the Black, Eärendil was the one to truly defeat the dragon at the end of the day. Thus, the idea of the Eagles being the reason that Middle-earth was saved from darkness was outside of their character motivations, and, as Tolkien says, credibility and usefulness. This brings me to my main point that I have speculated about for years. The Eagles are just not like other characters. They don't have Fear, which means that they don't hold the secret fire and they do not retain free will and true life, as stated in Morgoth's Ring. Quote, the same sort of thing may be said of Huan and the Eagles. They were taught language by the Valar and raised to a higher level, but they still had no Fear. End quote. Thus, they do serve the Valar, but not of their own volition. Ents and dwarves were given Fear by Iluvatar, but the Eagles never seem to be granted the same boon. It seems that since the Eagles don't have free will and spirits, they are likely directly controlled by Manwë their master, and are thus subjected to his will and rules. Likely, since the Valar are not supposed to directly intervene with the plights of the children of Iluvatar, some forms of those rules passed onto the Eagles as well. Now, obviously the Eagles do intervene, but it seems that they are but the drones and machinations of Manwë or his designs, since the Great Eagles were devised by the King of the Valar. Thus it makes sense that they would save the lives of heroes and help in certain situations, but the Eagles would never single-handedly attempt to save the world on their own. Bringing the One Ring closer to both its master or its doom would be a direct intervention by the Eagles, and probably not allowed. Once again, however, these are just my speculations that are built by plot elements from the books. But before we bring this video to a close, I wanted to take a look at what some of you all had to say. From Facebook, Drew says that it is possible that the Eagles could have had other roles in the late Third Age, like gathering intel on enemy designs and movements, and reporting them back to the Free Peoples. Besides this, they may have also been protecting their homes from Sauron's forces in the north, and many of them were only really able to fly southwards after the Battle of Dale was finished and their homes were secured. Thanks for the answer, man. I would say that those ideas are definitely possible, as the frame narrative of The Lord of the Rings prevents us from knowing everything that took place around the Eagles and their homes. It is possible that they were busy safeguarding the North, and could only intervene in the events of The Lord of the Rings on certain occasions. Another response I got on Facebook is from Rolf, and he says that it is possible that the Eagles wanted to avoid the power of the One Ring as to not be corrupted or tainted by it. Thus, they couldn't fly Frodo or the Ring closer to Mount Doom. Thank you for the response. To this, I would say that it is possible, as the One Ring is a corrupter of all. This is a widely speculated theory that I've also seen in other places online as well. However, I would say that due to the facts that the Eagles are direct servants of Manwë without wills of their own, and also because they carried Bilbo with the One Ring in The Hobbit, I personally don't believe that the Ring's possible corruptions upon the Eagles are factors of this issue, but I could be wrong. Thank you both, and to anyone else who reached out with your opinions on the supposed Eagle plot hole. It means a lot, and I'm sorry if I didn't give you a shout out in this video. Every response was appreciated. At the end of the day, this problem is made moot by the fact that even if the Eagles had helped bring the Fellowship closer to Mount Doom, the Ring likely would not have been destroyed anyway, and all would have been lost, as, if for no other reason, Gollum wouldn't have been there to destroy it. Due to that fact, or through the designs of Sauron, the Ring would have likely endured and gone back to the Dark Lord for a new age of terror and shadow in Middle-earth. This debate about the Eagles reminds us that the easiest and quickest ways to do something may not be the best ways, as haste, folly, and ignorance may bind us to our own dooms. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my take on this debate about Tolkien's works. If you did, please hit that like button and share this with a friend. Also, leave me your thoughts about this topic in the comments below, as I am very curious to hear what you all think on this matter. Do you agree with what I have said, or could I not be more wrong? Please, just let me know. If other facts or possible theories about this topic come out that you all want me to cover in a second video in the future, please just let me know and I'd be happy to make it. To contact me more directly, please join us on Facebook and Twitter, and to directly support the channel, hear our new podcasts, and talk with me on Discord, please consider joining us on Patreon. Links for those are in the description below. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to join the Men of the West and all of the Free Peoples today, and I will see you all again next week with a Rivendell Region Spotlight, because I feel like it's been a while since I've made a video dedicated to the elves. As always, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one, my great friends.